make better financial decisions. Last year, I was faced with a bit of a crisis when it came to my personal finances. I had no idea what I was doing, and I realized I'm not alone. Meet Katie and Derek. Katie's in her 20s, and she has a lot of questions about personal finance. Derek's also in his 20s, and he sort of knows what he should be doing, but he still needs that extra push to get there. It's hard to prioritize saving money and doing the right things when it feels like all of your friends are buying new cars or taking trips. So we have two people who sort of know what they should be doing with their finances, but they're not reaching their goals. What's the problem? We're not talking about money, and it's hurting us. We're too busy talking about the more glamorous things in our life, like the trips we're taking, while we're neglecting to talk about the important stuff. Yet, we admit that we find it more helpful to talk to a person about our financial questions than Google. We also admit that when we talk about our goals, we're more likely to make progress on them, but we're not talking about money. What if it was as cool to talk about money as it is to talk about CrossFit? Think about it. There was a time that we didn't talk about what we ate, how we worked out. Nobody compared that with other people. We certainly didn't post about it on social media, but CrossFit created an entire community around people who talk about these things because they realize you have to talk about these things to grow. So that's why I'm creating Penge. Ask me later why it's called that, but Penge is a way to track your financial goals and not just the big milestones, but the little steps that help you get there while surrounding you with supportive community and accountability. So it's tracking your proactive financial actions. So things like saving money, investing, paying off debt, and not just the dollar amounts, but the actions themselves. It's about building those sort of habits and that muscle memory, not just reaching those big milestones. So instead of saying next year I want to run a marathon, it's about building a habit to run a mile every day. Penge is like a personal trainer, but for your finances. So I'm confident this will work for a couple reasons. First of all, there's a generation of about 26 million people between the ages of 18 to 24 who are entirely focused on solving a problem through communication, collaboration, and transparency. And I'm confident that since we're already solving other problems this way, finance is the next thing to go. While there's no one in the fintech space who's doing exactly what I'm doing, there are other apps that help people with their financial problems, but these are all focused on different markets and different problems. So people who want to automate their finances, or people who want more complicated charts about their net worth, or people who want to spend less on coffee. While technically any of them could try to do what I'm doing, I don't believe they would because it would be a distraction from the other markets they're already going after. I'm also confident this will work because it's based on two aspects of two models that are working really well. So first of all, a competitive aspect around things that were once taboo. Think about Fitbit and Apple Watch competitions, and also a community around personal finance, like Dave Ramsey's tribe. So you're probably wondering, how does Penge make money? Great question. Penge will be based on a freemium model where the free plan is supported by ads and curated content from other financial services and tools, while the pro and premium plans will have access to customized goals, accelerated point structure, challenges, and even live chat with mentor. We're also thinking this is something businesses would be interested in providing as a service to their employees because there's a strong tie between personal financial stress and workplace productivity. I'm also confident this is going to work because I've talked to a lot of people about Penge and they're all really excited about it. Here's just a few. They can't wait for a solution to help them build stronger financial habits while surrounding them with a great community. So I started working on Penge in the fall of 2018, and since then, I've completed about 50 personal product interviews. I launched a website that has a waiting list where people can show their interest in it. I've surveyed about 200 people about their financial behaviors, and I've led 2 successful betas of the product and had about a 60% engagement rate with people reporting improvements in their willingness to talk about money and reaching their financial goals. I've also recruited advisors who are passionate about Penge, one of which includes Lori Grenier from Shark Tank. Just kidding. She's not really an advisor, but she did favorite a tweet of mine, so that's pretty much the same thing. So up next, we need to build out an MVP of Penge to actually let people use it and make sure the beta process I'm going through is more automated. From there, we'll aim to get about 500 users within a year and identify the best product market fit from there, and then grow with an organic marketing strategy focused on influencers and partners who are already excited to talk about Penge. So, if you're ready to make personal finance cooler than CrossFit, come join me. Thank you.
Good job, Brittany. Okay, judges, you have 3 minutes. Just a heads up, we're not going to slow clap the judges. We want them to come back next time. So, keep your 3 minutes as best you can. Thank you, judges.
Yeah, so this is incredibly sensitive information. So how do you deal with privacy in a social network at the same time?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and there's two sort of prongs to that. There's first of all, people's fears of like their data being hacked or stolen, like with other fintech apps. But this is something that we're confident is pretty surmountable because there's so many other apps like Mint, like tons of different budgeting apps, personal capital, ones that look at your net worth and things that if you take the necessary precautions, never makes you 100% safe, but it does protect you from a lot of, there's things you can do to make sure that doesn't happen. The next sort of barrier is it's still taboo to talk about money. And so we're still trying to work on overcoming that. And the way we do that is you'll be able to share as much or as little as you want, and there will be no dollar amount. So it's not gonna show things like Brittany just moved $1,000 from checking to savings. It's gonna be like Brittany moved money from checking to savings. So you're able to share as much detail as you want without giving away too much.
My question is, how much is it gonna take to get this built, and how quickly is it gonna be generating revenue, do you think?
It's a great question. So I've actually been looking at building out an MVP of the product, and it's going to cost between $5,000 and $20,000. I know that's a wide range, but what we're trying to do is a little bit different than what other people have done, so it's going to require a little more customization. Once we have that, that should be a good MVP of the product where I can actually get it out there, like put it in the App Store and have people download it and use it. And from there, I'm confident I'll be able to start pushing out that revenue, and after my first few initial users, I'll be able to put out a paid plan. So as soon as I have that money to actually build the MVP, pretty soon, I can start generating revenue almost instantly.
Do you have people lined up, and how long is it going to take to complete?
Yeah, I'm working on finding a few developers. I've got a few people that I've talked to that are sort of interested in it, but we haven't got it committed yet. I've also found a company here through Awesome Inc. that would be willing to build it, and that's where I need to get the money to build it, and then they're ready to go. As for how long it takes, I believe the time we talked about was about 3 months.
Kind of a comment and a question. One thing in your presentation, you said nobody else is doing this. So my question is, and it kind of builds off the way people don't like to talk about their money, do you think maybe there might be a reason that nobody else is doing this?
It's a good question. And yes, I think there's a reason nobody has done it, because it feels like it's not a very lucrative sort of market. It feels like they want to capitalize on people who are the higher spenders, the ones who are doing more complicated things with their net worth. They feel like a more lucrative audience. So I think that's probably why they haven't focused on it a lot. But as I think I've shown, this audience also has profit. It's just not in terms of like managing a percentage of their wealth. And so I think that's been a big deterrent for people.
How do you convince the skeptic who says, I can do this in my budget on a sheet of paper?
I would say yes, you totally can, but there's nobody on that piece of paper that's holding you accountable. There's nobody that's encouraging you when you're having a bad day and you want to choose a hamburger over putting money in your IRA. And so yes, you can totally track things on your own, but there's nothing that implements the tracking in the community and holds you accountable. And you honestly feel like you're alone in that, and which is why a lot of us aren't making the right decisions.
Good, thank you.